Hello friends and welcome back to my shop. In this week's video, we're going to build a better tumbler. So making your own tumbler is not a great idea, but I wanted to experiment with different styles of tumbling. In the past, I've used vibratory tumblers like this, and these can be had very economically, $50, $100, something around there. And they work really good for brass. I also ran those, this is just ceramic media. I ran ceramic media in there as well. But for titanium, it doesn't impart the finish that I want on it in any reasonable amount of time. I would basically take pen bodies like this, toss them in this tumbler, let them vibrate for 8 hours, and still didn't have the results I wanted. And then in a few occasions, the pen actually ended up in the bottom of the tumbler and just went around and developed beautiful spirals all around the pen, but 100% not what I was after, and 100% spontaneous. So it's not something I want. I want something consistent. The best way I found was basically if I put the pen parts in a container like this, fill it with ceramic or put a good amount of ceramic media in there, put some water and soap, and then basically just tumbled it end over end. It produced the exact finish I wanted, and it did it in a pretty reasonable amount of time, a couple hours or so, to get this nice matte uniform finish. And that was the most important part, is the uniform finish. So I figured if it worked at this scale, all I have to do is make it bigger, and that's the game I played. To mimic my container little system, if I moved up to about a 2.5-ish gallon container, one size under the 5-gallon pails, would be about perfect for my size. Would let me put a full batch in there and tumble it. I could put some paddle wheels on the inside to agitate the media. All I had to do was spin a drum or spin a pail. So the first method was just to mount some casters and one motor drive on the back corner and see if I can get that spinning. While that did work, I knew as soon as I put any media in that, it would just bounce around too much and it would just never maintain proper connection with the little gear motor driving everything, and it would just cause more hassle than it would help with. So I quickly abandoned that one and put another support on my MDF test base and ran a motor, basically the motor from the vibratory tumbler. I ran it through a little worm gear mesh that I quickly made up to see if that would work. And while the speed was perfect, or very close to perfect, I couldn't vary it because it's an AC motor and didn't want to run it through a variac and all kinds of weird stuff. So that was one annoyance, and the other annoyance being the motor was already pretty underpowered, and then the way the gear, worm gear mesh was, it's not an efficient system, and it was already wearing itself just in the few minutes I was testing it, so I knew that wouldn't be a long-term solution, especially with a bunch of median parts banging around on the inside. So I quickly moved to revision 3, which is the one that actually worked, and that was a gear motor coupled with a pulley system. Essentially, I just wrapped some belting around the aluminum pulley on the back to function as the large pulley, had the small 3D printed pulley on the gear motor, ran the gear motor off a DC supply. I have that can control voltage and current, so I ran it way lower than it was designed to run to help mitigate some heat buildup, especially that planetary gearbox. They're not meant to run continuously, or at least this specific one out of a drill isn't meant to run continuously. So running at a little bit lower speed helps significantly in keeping the heat reduction down. I eventually put a little fan on it to help even more so. And this one worked. I ran this one for about 20 hours without any single issue, no breakdowns or anything. So this is the one I ended up throwing all the parts in, putting the paddle wheels on it, and just letting it go. It took about between 3 and 4 hours to get the finish I was after. So while I can't say this is a super long-term solution, I will eventually either build or buy a much better tumbler for this. It got me out of a bind. It told me exactly what I need to produce the results I want. And it actually produced the results I want in a saleable batch. I'm very happy with the finish. This is actually the best finish on the surface of the pens that I've been able to produce in the shortest amount of time. So that's a win-win-win. Part. Noisy. So normally I wouldn't have it tilted back. I'm just trying to minimize the amount of junk that falls out. So that's where my B-roll footage ends for the tumbler, and that's where this week's video also ends. All the pens you saw in this video are up for sale January 27th, which is the Wednesday following this video's upload. So if that's something that strikes your interest, you can head on over to my website and take a peek. If not, thank you, as always, so much for watching. Next week, we'll probably do a big video on this stack of storage bins behind me. because I'm super excited to start using them, and I'm excited to share with you of how I built them, and it's kind of a cool process. And along with my big rolly tool cart, because even in my small shop, it's nice to keep everything organized so I'm not looking for it. That's it. That's everything. I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and I will see you next week. Take care. Bye.